And just because of the circumstances this semester, I made chapter every other week instead of every week, just because like we lowered dues for them. There's just a lot less like responsibilities for them. We're going to be a lot more lenient with people, but we've noticed that there's people that are still just not going. So I don't know if I should just, go back to having it every other week and then just, reprimand them. But I feel like we have to be really lenient with them this semester. But I feel like that's like a big issue just because chapter is very important to attend.
Thank you, Kelly. What chapter and what school are you from?
Chi Delta from St.
Oh, you already said that. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. All right, one more person and then we'll move on. Come on.
Somebody outside of Atlantic Metro.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm going to call on the person whose name is Phoenix. Only because that's my pledge name.
I think that's Atlantic Metro.
Dang it.
I mean, I'm not saying no, it's just funny.
Red is Atlantic Metro.
Ah, it's all right. We'll still take you.
Okay, I guess apathy in my chapters kind of looks like, I don't know. I feel like actually, no, let me not lie. I think apathy kind of just looks like people not really taking like the full initiative in our positions. Like we're a very small chapter. I forgot to say, Beta Sigma chapter, St. John's University. We're a very small chapter, and so oftentimes, everybody has a position. And when you first get the position, we're really excited about what we do. We have all these big plans, and then it starts to like fade out. And that's just like, I don't want us to fade out. I'm somebody who has a lot of energy, so I don't want anybody else to lose their energy. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of my speakers that I called on. I will continue to call on people throughout the slideshow, I promise. I'll have you go to the next slide, Coral, for me. All right, so we all know that there's an infinite amount of things that could possibly cause someone to be apathetic towards each individual chapters, right? So there's no one right answer for what causes a member to become apathetic. Just as what entices each person to join the organization is different, what causes them to lose interest can vary and be very different as well. With that said, I chose 3 specific causes of apathy that affects AK Sci chapters specifically. So the first one is expectations. So think of how many individuals here, and I'll just use the people who have their cameras on right now. Raise your hand if a lot of your chapter meetings are focused on pledges. At least in the past, not necessarily right now. Oh, come on, no one's raising their hand. All right, well, I will say that that is not the norm. Most individuals paint this picture for pledges of what AK Sci is about, and that doesn't necessarily match what your chapter actually is doing. It was for my chapter, Brianna. Thanks, Brianna. So the expectations of when an individual is rushing AK Sci versus being a pledge for AK Sci versus being a student member of AK Sci, all of those things are, one thing is said and not necessarily backed up with the actual actions of the chapter. So what is your chapter actually about, and what does your chapter actually do? The mindset of they don't need me. So does the executive board do all the work? Do the same people come out to the same events? Or in this case, come to the virtual events? Are all events the same every year? How often does your chapter vote? And how well does your chapter use committees? And then the last one, difference in views. So think of the individuals in your chapter thinking that they're going to get one thing as a student member, getting one thing or expecting one thing or doing one thing, and it's not necessarily what that individual, it's the expectations, but it's on the individual level versus at the chapter level. Coral, can you go to the next slide? Ways to fight apathy. Quite frankly, the best way to tie this in a little bow is recruiting your current brotherhood. A lot of chapters focus a lot of their time on recruiting and a lot of just numbers in general, but we want to make sure that the quality of the experience of each individual is just as good as their pledge experience, right? At the end of the day, apathy is a symptom of the problem. So you have to fight and figure out what is the underlying issue that causes your members to disengage. How do we do that? Going back to the basics. So are your chapter operations or requirements getting too complicated? Are you surveying your members? I'm sorry, are you providing your members opportunities to grow or just things to do? And are your events relevant to your current members? Next way to fight apathy is surveying your members. What do they want out of the chapter? Is it equal to what they're getting? Is the chapter doing things out of tradition that is no longer relevant or draws the interest of its current student members? What new ideas do your student body have as a whole? This is the one I want to call on people. In what ways do you celebrate and encourage your current members? Let's see, Taylor Smith.
So I was just initiated in the spring, so I'm kind of new to this, but I was also appointed social and service co-chairman. So I'd say that just to encourage our current members, we're all just very, like if someone does something good or if they're like running for a position in another club or something, we're all very supportive and we all just kind of help each other out and give each other morale boosts.
Caitlin Dempsey.
Hi. Yeah, we just started doing brother shout outs of the week. So if it's like your birthday, we post on our Instagram. And then we asked that if anybody that had an internship over the summer or has an internship or just something they want to share with the chapter, we strongly encourage them to like tell us about it. We all love to hear about it, stuff like that.
Yeah, believe it or not, there are quite a few chapters out there that don't think to celebrate what you're currently doing, whether it's kind of what you said, Caitlin, Brother of the Week, or there's a lot of chapters do love baskets, anything in between, just to continually encourage a chapter. The last thing is be kind. This one is extremely important, especially in the virtual world. If you notice that someone is not showing up or doing their part, reach out to them. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what their reality is right now. They may have some personal issue and just need support from brothers. At the end of the day, that's what AKSI is about. So, one specific way to truly fight apathy is to get down, I call it eye to eye, even in the virtual world. Get eye to eye with an individual and figure out what the problem is and what you can do to help them. We need to find out what motivates your members and make sure that we manage them so that they stay motivated, involved. That question's like, how do we motivate our members? What is the buy-in and what tools are needed to maintain active participation? Which goes to the next slide. Oops. So building intrinsic motivation. So this is I stole this from Mike Dickerson, so I apologize to him. I'll at least give him the shout out. But, these are the five tools that as leaders and current student members of your chapter, what you can do to help work with your chapter as a whole, but then also at the individual level. To provide leadership roles outside of eBoard. By giving people responsibilities and tasks, you all of a sudden, you give them a purpose, right? There's nothing that says anywhere that you can't appoint non-officer positions. You can do as many as you want. So instead of being a committee member, all of a sudden they're the photographer or the social media chair or whatever you need, the historian. Like, not every single chapter has all of these positions. If you name specific positions within a committee, it could bolster an individual's role, because all of a sudden they have clear guidance of what's expected of them. And that leads right into the next one, the build value to the work being done. By attaching value, by adding that position, that specific position, it also attaches value to the work that they're doing. And then, kind of like we said before, what am I trying to say? Celebrate and encourage your members. You want to make sure that you track and post key performance metrics. So make sure you post the results, allow the opportunity to share ideas, express concerns. Communication is specifically a huge aspect of apathy, and especially right now with a lot of you not being face-to-face and being in the virtual world. By communicating and making sure you show off, it's again giving that extra added value to what the individuals are doing. And then, kind of like I already said, they're all interrelated, but communication, right? Ensure that the brothers know what is going along the way, because this allows them the opportunity to share their ideas and express their concerns and be involved in the process. And then number 5, anticipate needs. As students yourselves in the current reality that we're in, anticipating needs, you know what you need. So maybe you can anticipate what others need in your chapter as well. But again, knowing those individuals and getting down on that eye-to-eye level, that's having a human touch and being a leader goes a really long way. Coral, if you could go to the next slide. All right. Was anyone here that was at the President Academy in January?
I was.
I was there.
You guys are familiar with the Birkman, right?
Yep.
All right. So, with that said, the Birkman this year is going to be available to all student members in AKSI. So just a little background on what the Birkman is. The Birkman method reveals 4 key perspectives of every person: motivation, self-perception, social perception, and mindset. So by understanding these perceptions and how they influence each other, individuals and leaders can better understand the emotions and actions that drive their life. So all of a sudden, you'll be able to have a document that says what makes you tick, right? And not only you as an individual, but it'll also track the chapter as a whole, to understand, as leaders, how to be a leader for the specific group of individuals that are in your chapter, but more than that, how you are a leader, right? So there's going to be several follow-up events on how to utilize the Birkman. But more than that, there's going to be immediate results as an individual, and then there's going to be follow-up reports as a chapter. So I highly recommend that all of you go back to your chapter and recommend utilizing and going through the steps of the Birkman, your chapter, your regional management team in general will be able to go through this data with you to be able to understand and let you interpret the data as well. Yeah. Next slide, Coral. I would be remiss if I didn't offer other resources. So there are, please, if anyone hasn't gone to my AKSI yet, please do. There's a lot of significant resources, not only on how to be the best at your specific position, but it's just, there's learning tracks and everything in between, and actually the Birkman will be available in the community the next month or so. I will say that the events there's a significant amount of events, so please check it out. Does anyone have any questions for me? I would love to have this be more of a conversation about what specific things that you guys are experiencing, and have you answer each other's problems, if you will. Because apathy doesn't look the same in any two chapters, and the solution doesn't look the same either. Does anyone want to talk through a little bit of a problem that they're going through right now? I recognize that the virtual, doing all of this virtually is difficult. I will say, as someone who has a big girl job and doing this, I'm actually a regional director in my big girl job as I am in AKSI. So I recognize how difficult it is to manage other individuals and have meetings, and Zoom fatigue is a real thing, and there's not tea in there, there's definitely wine in there. I understand all of it, not everything in between. So would love to have a conversation with all of you.
I am still Mike Kayupsalon Ramapel. I'm thinking about doing a Brother of the Week. I'm the VP of membership, so I'm thinking about doing a Brother of the Week, and I would like to know if anybody does that already, or if they have advice about how I should go about that.
To answer your question, Phoenix, St. John's Basic Chapter, one thing we really do is like, either if we don't post about it, like on social media, we still just either try to find a way to recognize each other, whether we shout each other out in our group chats. A lot of our brothers have businesses. I think like maybe like 70% of us have businesses, so we try to either shout out the business, whether it's like an Instagram story. Instagram has really updated itself a lot, so there's a lot of new things you can do with it, and so that's why I like to use it. Right now, we're even doing photo shoots with brothers, and so even when we post stuff, at least they have like their own official picture to use. That way kind of gets back in the spirit of things. But that's something we've always done. We've really seen the value in using social media.
Thank you.
No problem.
I can go off of that for my chapter. We do, at the end of each chapter, we do like a brother courtesy. So you would just go around and like since it's on Zoom, I guess you just take yourself off mute and you'd be like brother courtesy to whoever, because and it could be like something big, like they got an internship, or it can be something small, like they drove me to this place today and it really helped me out. So it's just a way to recognize people, and it makes it fun to end chapter on like a good note and all that.
I really like that. That's a good way to like get people involved like in chapter. I feel like a lot of times it's just the word talking, so that's a really good way to get brothers like, I don't know, like laughing. I can definitely see my chapter like having fun with that. So I think I might try that. We have chapter tonight after this.
Yeah, you should try it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wouldn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I was like, does anyone have trouble with individuals that consistently come to chapter but don't say anything in the virtual setting?
I was just kind of going to go off of that a little bit. I feel like a lot of kind of the members in our chapter, Sacred Heart Chi Mu, when we have the chapter, since it is the virtual setting, a lot of us will sit like we are now with our cameras off, our mics muted, and kind of just like sit back and watch. And I feel like if we could at least get some more participation like they just recommended with the recognitions, I feel like that would be good, at least for our chapter.
I want to read the chat. So Coral said my home chapter did that with roses and thorns. So that's really cool. I actually do that with work right now. And I like the end chapter on a good note. Thank you. Is it Tiana? Tiana?
Tiana.
Tiana. Michael said that to you.
No problem.
Coral can see the quote with the chat now. I apologize, Coral. So anyone who didn't speak here have anything that they want to add or have any questions on?
Keep in mind, even if it's a small thing, usually problems are pretty repetitive chapter to chapter. A lot of times I know it seems like it's your chapter is the only one in certain situations, but especially right now with virtual/hybrid for most chapters, it's a lot of everybody going through the same changes.
Hi, Caitlin. I'm from the Chi Iota chapter at Loyola, Maryland. We just are having a hard time getting like members to even like come to chapter. We have about 60 members, and at our first chapter meeting, we only had about 40. So we're kind of disappointed in the lack of participation there. So just wondering if you guys had any ways to like get people to show up.
So, I mean, one thing I will say, I know I spoke about it here, but just the real life version of it, because this is what I did when I was vice president of administration. So, which for my chapter was the operations. I was in charge of all the committees. Every single individual in the chapter had a specific job title and a role that went with that title. Now, I don't want to overcomplicate something for a small chapter, because at the end of the day, you don't want a chapter of 20 people and like there's 12 officers. That's a little, you don't want that. But by giving every individual specifically a role and saying like, hey, I need you to talk about what you did in that role for this chapter meeting, all of a sudden they have a specific, they have an end goal, right? They have a specific value to being a member of AKSI. And more than that, on their resume, they're not saying social committee member, right? On their resume, they're saying, I was a social media chair that was a member of the social committee, and this is all of the things that I ran X, Y, and Z for this chapter.
Another recommendation that I would have that goes back to surveying your members is figuring out why they aren't interested in going to meetings as much. So issues that my chapter had in ways that we resolved it was if there's too many events going on or if they don't see the value in meetings, we would combine that with like another event. So we would have like one of our corporate partners come in and be a professional speaker in the beginning of our meeting, so that if you have like where they have to get so many professional points, you combine the two so they can like knock both out in one night, and just add some extra value to the meeting. So they're not interested in regular member meetings, but they do always come to your brotherhood events or they do always come to your professional events. Trying to combine some of those with meetings, that way it's not as out of their way to attend and they see more value that they get out of that too.
And the way to make that apply in the virtual setting is all of a sudden you can have, I'm just making this up. You can have a speaker, and in order to say you had like an awesome speaker, because all of a sudden you're not spending any money, anything, so you can pay for an awesome speaker, right? But you charge individuals $5 at the door and you donate all of the proceeds to a charity that means something to your chapter. All of a sudden you have a professional event, right? But it's also a service event. Thank you for bringing that up, Caitlin and Coral.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm back again. Sorry.
I appreciate it.
No problem. I'm the president of the chapter, so I just have a lot of stuff in my head that we've just been working on. Another thing that I've like you kind of mentioned, it's like combining positions and like events together. So like I said, we only have about like 15 members, but about everybody has a position. And so next week is kind of like celebrate like Founders Week. We have a Good Dress for Success week. We're collaborating with other organizations on campus. And so with it, we had to get our marketing person involved because we were in charge of marketing. And then we have a fundraiser involved with it because we have a raffle. So our fundraising chair had to be involved with it. And then we're also doing a service event. So our service chair had to be involved with it. And then because the Dress for Success event is also on professional development, our professional development chair and our events chair had to be involved in it. So like, that was one way I really was able to kind of get everybody integrated, especially since like every single person that I just mentioned is a new brother. It really helped get them like spearheaded into things. And then for like our vice president of membership, they're involved as well to kind of oversee who comes to events, that we can take note of like who's interested. So it was that's just one way I felt it's been really easy for us to get the job done and have people involved and enjoy it, and it makes it easier. That way no one's like, oh, I need to worry about having 2 service events a month or whatever. It's like you can already combine all of it together, have people talking, have people wanting to give updates. And to me that just made the most sense, and like now everyone's excited for it. Like I think we're dropping the flyer sometime today. But like now everybody's kind of really amped up about it, and I feel like that's what we kind of always need to do. That way it's just easier for everyone.
Love that. Thank you, Felix. Something else just to add, because I know there's probably different size chapters on here. In case you're finding it difficult to find roles for individuals, feel free to consider doing elect or shadowing roles as well. Because if someone says that my passion is to be MOR someday, have them be like a shadow of the MOR. And then you can also have like elect roles for non-elect roles, if that makes sense, for non-officer roles. So think of like you're going to be the next, I keep using photographer, social chair, but you're going to be the next social chair. Why don't you shadow the current social chair? And so it's a seamless transition into the next semester. Individuals can wear the pre-hat, if you will, as well.
Which would definitely help with transitions, which I know a lot of chapters on here struggled with, especially with us being virtual last semester and your semester kind of being cut basically in half in the middle of the semester. I know that there were a lot of issues with transition there, so that helps you guys pretty much be prepared for anything. I know that hopefully this whole situation doesn't happen again, but in general, it helps a lot to have somebody trained in that role in case you never know what's going to happen if like your MOR gets sick halfway through the semester or anything like that. We all know there's different conflicts in membership that maybe they resign from membership and now somebody has to step in. It's good to have kind of a backup plan just like you would in a regular business.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Even if it doesn't have to do with the session, do you have any questions while you have Courtney and I on here right now?
I've been around for a long time, use my brain. It's yours to do things with. Weird, sorry. Going once, going twice. All right, I'm going